Okay, in this video, I'll talk about the targeting framework, how to actually target the correct ICP that you actually want to get in touch with, and how that actually affects your cold email campaigns. But it surely does, because if you're targeting the wrong people every single time you're sending an email, you're pretty much sending a cold email in waste. And in the stock, it's a chapter in my full doc that I just wrote out. It's a document on how we've generated clients 13,000 leads and with 6,000 meetings so far in 2025. You'll also find a link to this document in the description of this video if you want to check this out yourself. It's 30 pages long. It's pretty cool, pretty sick. But in this video, we'll talk about chapter 3, which is the targeting framework. So let me just zoom in a bit about this. So, okay. Why is it so much to the left? Can I do... Let's just have it like this. Okay, so why your ICP is costing you 1,000 without you actually knowing this. So most agencies have ICPs that look like this. They simply just open up Apollo, and if you're not familiar with Apollo, it's a lead database that everyone is using. So I'm pretty sure you are familiar with Apollo, or like Sales Navigator. That's pretty much the same thing, but Apollo just sort of like scrapes Sales Navigator. And how they usually do a cold email campaign is they think, yeah, well, I work with CMOs at marketing agencies with 50 to, let's say, 200 employees. That's not an ICP, that's pretty much a LinkedIn filter. So here's also what's wrong with generic ICPs. 80% of people matching that description can't buy what you're actually selling. Plus, you're competing for attention with every other agency, and your messaging has to be generic to fit everyone, which means that your conversion rates stay below 1%. There's this 5-layer ICP framework that we've used so far in 2025, which has got us 30,000 leads. And it's these 5 different layers where most agencies stop at layer 1. We go 5 layers deep, basically. Layer 1 is demographics. This is basically where everyone stops. So, yeah, we have the title, VP Marketing, Director of Growth, CMO. You might want to target companies with 50 to 200 employees in B2B SaaS, in the US, in the UK, and in Europe, pretty much. However, the further down we go, the more in-depth it will be. And so now it's starting to get like more detailed, more in-depth, and this is exactly what you want, because if you get more specific with the targeting, like your targeting and list, it's pretty much the whole campaign strategy. So if you're only reaching out to like decision makers of B2B SaaS companies, you're only writing to decision makers at B2B SaaS companies, compared to if you were to write a column to VP of marketing at a B2B SaaS with 50 to 200 employees in the UK, doing 5 million a year around Series A to C, using HubSpot or Salesforce, and they're growing 50% year over year. Then now we're talking much more specific. And there's a huge difference if you were to write one single cold email to the one above versus if you were to have layer 1 plus layer 2. So now we're actually starting to get somewhere. The layer 3, it's called behavioral. That's what we usually call it. And this is just getting better and better. So level 3, it's level 1 plus layer 2 combined pretty much. So now we're starting to get into this behavioral part. And this is where, for example, if they're recently hired for growth roles, so let's say you're a PPC agency and you want to target companies who are actively searching for a PPC role, like PPC manager, something like that. You could see if they're actively hiring for that role, or if they have recently hired for it, and then use that to frame your messaging. And you can also use it to find social posts, so social engagement for LinkedIn, probably that's the most common one. But you can see if they post about scaling challenges, so you could identify companies posting a lot about their issues, their problems, on why they're not scaling. So for example, if you see somebody posting on LinkedIn, I don't know, if they might post about does anyone know a good PPC agency who can help us with this? We are currently looking to blah 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 blah. If you see somebody posting about those things, that's a strong indicator that your ICP is actively looking for your solution. And if you're reaching out to these prospects, of course, they're much more warmer. You can also see if they're like attending marketing conferences, engaging with growth content. And the main goal of all of these layers is to write a much more specific email, since again, like your list building is pretty much the entire strategy. And if you have a bad list, and if you're pretty generic in terms of like list building, you will get a pretty generic cold email campaign getting you the like industry standard stats. When you want the best possible, of course. Yeah, so attending marketing conferences, you can also see like if they are attending a specific event. For example, this is a good example actually. We had this. What was the name of the event? It was like. Here it is. I hope you can see my screen. Let me check real quick so you can see. Yeah, I can see it. Okay, perfect. So this a client came to me, and they said, "These are brands who attended this event. It's a local event. If you're Swedish, you probably know what this is. Actually, this is a local event. This is like 10 minutes away from my home actually, and it's companies in like industrial and in the like electricity field who are at this event, and they have these like different stands where they, I don't know, talk shit basically, and they say they stand at the stand with their like products. For example, I wonder if I can translate this. Yeah, so companies stand at these events and they showcase their like lighting public environments and workplaces. Okay, that was a good bad example actually, but like lighting poles, lighting control, infrastructure, LED products, and stuff like this. And we are offering SEO for this client. And so what we usually do is we build a pretty specific targeting in Apollo. But since this client actually knew that most of their clients and most of their ICP will actually be attending at this event, what he asked me to do is, he said, hey Noah, is it possible to, if you could create a list of companies who were actually standing at this event? And it crushed. I think, like, obviously the list isn't too big, but what we did, we basically scraped these companies. You can see all the companies right here. So we scraped them, and inside of Clay, we built a workflow to find the company domains, then find email addresses of their decision makers, basically. Then we can also use a super specific email where we said, like, hey John, I saw you were at the ELFAC, that's the name of this event. I saw you were at the stand B0662, like something like, you can make a super relevant and personalized email, which is pretty much what we did. And it got so good replies just because the list was so unique built, and it's so relevant, because not everyone knows that these companies were actually here. And yeah, it crushed. I think we got a few. Obviously the list wasn't too big. I think we got like 100 200 decision makers, but we got a few meetings booked from it, which is super good actually. So yeah, just an example of what you can do. So layer 4 is the situational. This is great. So these can be prospects who are like new enroll, first 90 days, for example. That's usually the limit. If they joined more than 90 days ago, it's not as relevant, sort of. So I'd filter for if they recently joined the company within the first 90 days. Company just raised funding, recent leadership changes, competitive threats emerging. Layer 5, intent-based, exceptional, actively researching solutions, engaging with competitive content, budget allocated for problem solving, timeline pressure for decisions. This is also like, if these companies are at this event, then obviously they want more clients. So it's also a good trigger. We know that they want to sell more products. Of course, everybody wants that. But here we can actually say, John, since you were just at this event, I'm assuming you would like to grow. And then we had a super good messaging along the lines like, when everybody were at the event and they are actively trying to look you up after the event, I can't remember precisely what the words were, but it was something like that. Like, if, like, hey John, we saw you at the stand, blah blah blah. Just curious, after people were talking with you at your stand, how are you ensuring prospects or interested prospects who were actively interested in your products actually find you when searching you up on Google, for example? And then we come up with our case study or solution, stuff like that. We wrote something like that. It's also like a trigger, of course. Yeah. So essentially, here's the framework layers. So you want to have like intent base. This is super strong. This can be actively researching solutions, engaging with competitors, and having a budget. A good example as well on this is you could build a super good and strong list by scraping competitor followers on LinkedIn. This is a super good one actually. So let's say we're HubSpot. You want to sell HubSpot to more clients. You could scrape Salesforce LinkedIn followers. This is pretty cheeky, but you can do it and then contact like all uh, HubSpot followers. So like, hey Don, seems like you are using HubSpot. Us at Salesforce, we just blah 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 blah. And then continue on with your offer. Um, yeah, it's a good way to build a warm list essentially. Demographics. So yeah, pretty much the simple ones. Filtered by the job title, company size, industry, location. Yeah, most pretty much the basic stuff, which you probably got covered already. Situational. We got factors like being new in a role, recent funding or leadership. By the way, this whole doc will be in the description as well, so you can just check it out. As a bonus, you'll get the whole document as well. But this situational layer, this considers the current situation. We got firmographics, revenue, funding stage, tech stack, growth. Tech stack that goes with that Salesforce and HubSpot example again. Tech stack, like hey, we saw you're using HubSpot. Growth rate of potential customer companies. This layer is more specific. We got behavioral as well. Actions indicating interest in growth, such as posting about challenges or attending conferences. This layer focuses on behavior. So I think the best way of doing this is by having a look at the company LinkedIn or the personal LinkedIn. Could also be like blog posts if you were to look up the company's blog posts or something like that. Yeah, here are also a few examples. So we have, let's see, that was the, yeah, so how I identify 28,000 qualified prospects for SEO Doctor. This is also the exact same company that I just talked about with the event example. So layer one, demographics, we filter by business owners and marketing directors at online businesses. Layer two, firmographics, so 500k to 50 million in ARR, companies with established websites essentially. Layer three, behavioral. This is like active online presence. Investing in digital marketing, concerned about organic visibility. Situational, layer 4, recent traffic drops from algorithm updates, competitors outranking them, struggling with tech SEO. I won't really go too in depth about how our messaging looks like, but we mentioned these things like that they're getting outranked by their competitors, also name dropping their exact like traffic drops and how their page speed is looking and stuff like that. Interest-based, posting about traffic losses, searching for SEO solutions, mentioning competitive rankings, discussing organic growth challenges. This is for sure the hardest one, but also the most valuable one. And this resulted in 91 meetings in 120 days with an average 5.91% response rate. And I think that this worked pretty good just because we had like specific SEO challenges that we found for each prospect that we then presented our solution to. And we also had super specific and actually relevant list building. And keep in mind, like you do not always need to use triggers. We have another good example of a company called Barter where we are targeting all e-commerce stores basically. We're not having like any trigger at all almost. As long as your offer is good, you do not always need triggers. And also if you have like a good large TAM, it makes sense to skip the triggers. But of course, if you have triggers, it's always gonna outperform, I would say, the ones without. A few examples like LinkedIn posts about specific business challenges, comments on industry content revealing pain points. I know Trigify also has you can filter specifically for people actively talking about X topic, which is super good actually. Yeah. Growth sale triggers, this got a 5.8% response rate, like new funding announcement, product launch preparations, also role change triggers, new position appointments, so within the first 90 days. As I said before, pain indicator triggers, 4.9% average response rate is what we found. And this is basically how we usually build our qualified list. We look at our best customers and then usually look for patterns, essentially. And that's pretty much it. If you want access to this full doc, it's a 38-page doc on how we've generated clients 13,000, over 30k leads actually, and booked 6,000 meetings so far in 2025. You can find it in the description. We have real case studies. It covers targeting framework, more about what I just talked about, the foundations, the messaging, case study breakdowns, your implementation roadmap even. So yeah, link in the description, and hope you did find this video valuable. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I will put a smile on my face for you. And yeah, take care guys, talk soon, cheers.